Welcome to our final special highlights episode of Mediaspace Members Daily. Mediaspace Beta launched on 12th of May this year. In historic times, when the COVID crisis was around its peak, the economy and media industry was strongly hit. Social distancing was the new norm, and our daily Zoom interviews represent these very difficult months till the end of July. More and more members are joining Mediaspace from all around the world, and we do also interview quite a few of them. We've had the pleasure of having some of the most experienced and influential interviewees within the media, marketing, gov, tech industries globally. Today, we'll be looking back at the advice they gave to the Mediaspace community based on their areas of expertise.
I believe we need to rethink regulations for the digital era. Has it lost its relevancy, or is it still relevant? I would argue that this area requires a lot of rethink, as digital has significantly blurred the edges of the different regulatory bodies. So should we look to regulate differently?
I would suggest that anyone in a high, fast-moving industry, both personally and from a business point of view, it's good to take that step back and actively think, although I'm reacting, am I going in that direction, in the direction that I want to go in?
We have to be really brave and try to think out of the box with communication solutions and methods. And we have to be very open for so-called unorthodox approaches and tools. We have never, maybe those ones we have never been open to before.
Media companies and brands need to get their own houses in order before they can be affecting real change and transformation in terms of the message that they want to be putting out there about their companies. So get your own house in order if you start wanting to make transformation and change, and that's from brand purpose to sort of cause marketing as well as digital transformation, and diversity and equality and opportunity are huge parts of that.
We're all going to have to be much more agile and adaptive than we've ever been. I think we need to keep innovating, because I think often at the most difficult times is when we create the most innovative solutions. But I think it's really important that we stay connected and that we collaborate wherever possible, because I think the answers might not necessarily come from within. They might be from other sectors, or they might be from competitors. But I also think it's really important that we strike a balance in life as well. We don't all get Skyped out and Zoomed out, which I think we've definitely all been guilty of over the summer so far.
Before we move the economy, we as the industry need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to save as many people's lives as possible. This is why at IEA we have been working with our members on advertising campaigns, raising awareness of important social issues during the pandemic.
I hope that in this time where we're just seeing how important data is to decision making, I hope that this inspires a whole new generation of people to come into government to try to make a difference, because it's so important. Literally saving lives.
I think it's also time to work closer, not only with corporation partners that you'd like to have, but also your competitors. Because at the end of the day, we also saw that, because everything moved digitally and everything looked at e-commerce and Instagram buyings, we're in need to stand together against global competitors that act locally and pay taxes locally, but act on a global level.
Concerns are related to the market power of a lot of the digital platforms and the way they act as sort of digital gatekeepers, which means that small businesses, or any business actually, and definitely all consumers and users and citizens, are reliant on just a few particular digital gatekeepers. And in that regard, it means that we have to make sure that our dependence on those gatekeepers is matched by some degree of responsibility, if you will.
When it comes to media space communities, together with other communities, I think this is time for discussion. I think there are so many different opinions out there, so many different point of views. We clearly need to exchange this. We need to learn from each other. We need to keep an open mind, an open eye, an open ear.
I think one of the things that could happen at European level would there to be enshrined in the law an obligation to negotiate, as in France and indeed in Australia, where they're going for a mandatory code for negotiating between large digital players and the publishers. And finally, I think there should be an obligation on app stores, which are, again, digital gateways, to accept alternative payment systems, and also to share the data of the publishers' subscribers.
Action should be taken at the highest practical level. And in Europe, that means the European Union. To do otherwise risks creating a fragmented legal framework where there are more obstacles rather than less to the creation and distribution of content, which I don't think would help anyone.
I definitely believe that having an inclusive place to work allows for employees to have higher satisfaction rates, and also have the right support needed to work through the crisis. And finally, to be very pragmatic, it allows for better productivity levels.
If you're a company and you're dealing right now with all the various issues, it's kind of continue to understand that privacy rights do not dissipate during this time, that we need to be really, really cognizant about privacy issues, and that there might be impact down the line based on what's happening that could ultimately result in more privacy laws. And so it's just really important to be extra cognizant of what's going on in the industry.
Recognizing your own social capital, the networks that you have, they've always been the best way to find roles. And so really reaching out to people now is a time when people want to help. And so using that and reaching out to people and asking for recommendations for roles or for introductions to people that you know that have roles and that are very much in recovery mode. Thinking about what resources you have as an individual, what else could you do alongside all of the other skills and experience that you might have been using more recently. We've certainly identified a lot more ways that we can be working that we hadn't thought of before. And maybe as individuals, we can do that too. Are there other industries that you could work within that you might not have thought of that are now booming?
Can we enable artificial intelligence to shake up the digital economy again? Why not? Advertising is about generating questions. It's about choices, feelings, and decisions. Advertising, that is always about why. Why should I pay more for these Nikes? Why should I choose Coke Zero over a Pepsi? There's one single strategic word to answer all these whys, and that has the power to drive brand loyalty, and that is trust. So let's develop a strategic platform of AI-driven trust for the digital sharing industry.
My advice to anybody that's currently trying to raise money is to make sure that you're focused on delivering a business with real deliverable results. And not trying to sell a dream, because I think dreams are difficult to sell at this stage because it's such an uncertain future. I also would advise anybody who's looking to raise funding now to be extremely persistent.
Look at what governments and regulators can do to help sustain public interest news, which is my primary concern, public service news. And there are a range of things that I might consider around that, from kind of tax breaks to looking at non-profits, charitable status perhaps, which may allow them to fundraise in ways that they can't at the moment. You know, there's a range of measures they can take to help support public interest news short of government direct funding.
Who are you individually, you as a company, you as a brand in the rebooted economy that will emerge? And then individuals during the summer, embrace that, trust your skills, trust that you do know what you're doing, and that this economy will come back, and that the business will resurrect, and that skills are skills, and the skills are needed, and the skills will be more critically needed now than ever. And individually, I think we all have to pray this summer, Lavina. We have to pray for the vaccine to come out real soon, because that's what we need.
Thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for more exclusive interviews. In the meantime, connect with us at mediaspace.global.